Keep Me Guessing. Written by Just Thinking Drabbles. Read by Arashi. What Dimitri loved most about Claude was his unpredictability. He was always surprising him with the things that he did, whether it was having a bit of mischievous fun or concocting elaborate strategies that seemed almost too crazy to work. His mind was beautiful, and so was he, and every time he thought about him, he found himself staring off into space as he remembered his shimmering green eyes and the laid-back but confident way he carried himself. And though thinking about Claude filled him with fondness, it also made his absence all the more palpable. Of course, he understood why he had been gone for so long. Dimitri himself knew all too well the responsibilities of a king could not wait to be attended to. And yet, as he sat at his desk and tapped the end of his quill against the parchment he had been reviewing, he felt an ache in his chest as he thought on his lover, whom he hadn't seen in several months. He wished more than anything that he could wake up with Claude by his side, seeing his sleeping face, and smile, place a kiss to his forehead as he brushed back his curly hair. He wanted to hear his laughter, whether it was with him or at him, and hold his hand as they walked through the palace garden. He even missed taking a ride with him on his wyvern, despite the fact that every time they did, he clung to him so tightly he worried that he might hurt him. Of course, Claude always allayed his fears afterwards by telling him that it didn't bother him, but still, Dimitri worried. He leaned back in his chair and set down the quill, noticing then, as he looked out his window, that the sun was beginning to set. Perhaps it was time for a break, since he had been working for several hours, and if he didn't take one now, he would likely be told to do so soon by Dudu, or Felix, or maybe even both of them. As he stood from his chair, he stretched out his arms, and felt the strain of his muscles unwind as he did. Goddess, he was tired. The thought to go to his chambers for some respite crossed his mind briefly, before he heard a light tap on the doors leading out to the balcony. A bird, he thought at first. He continued towards the exit to his office, but then it came again. Hearing it then, he turned to look at the source of the noise, and what he found was not a bird at all. He smiled as he came to the double doors and opened them with a greeting on his lips, but his unexpected guest beat him to it. "Surprised to see me, your kingliness?" asked Claude, as he jumped from his seated position against the railing. Dimitri nodded. "Surprised, yes, very much so. And extremely pleased as well." He wrapped both of his arms around him and hugged him tight. Claude chuckled as he too embraced him, and it was like music to his ears. So beautiful, he swore it was the song of an angel. "I missed you." "I missed you too, Mitya," Claude hummed happily. They held each other close for a few minutes more before pulling away to look at one another's face, though they did not release their hold against each other's waists. "You're as beautiful as ever." Dimitri's cheeks reddened at the compliment. "You flatter me too much." "I only speak the truth," he said, as he brushed aside his love's hair. "And what brought you here, beloved? Is everything all right in Elmira?" Claude nodded, as he released his hold on Dimitri, and took his hand instead, as he led them back within his office. "Everything there is perfectly fine, but I did not come here for business." He took a seat on the edge of Dimitri's desk, and gave him a playful wink. "I'm here for pleasure." Is that so?" He nodded, as he wrapped his arms around his neck and touched their noses together, as Dimitri placed his hands on his sides gently. "It is. So, Mitya, are you going to kiss me, or what?" Dimitri chuckled and closed the distance between them, The kiss was somewhat sloppy, fueled by the impatience and eagerness he felt at having his beloved here with him again. He could scarcely believe it to be true, but then he felt Claude beneath his fingertips, his lips plush and soft as he kissed him fervently in return, and he knew that this was not just a dream. He could not get enough of him, and his mind ran rampant with the thought of more. The only reason that they pulled apart at all was to catch their breaths, and as they did, Dimitri looked at him, noticing the way his eyes gleamed within the fading sunlight streaming into the room, and the way the flush on his cheeks complemented his lovely face, and smiled at the knowledge that Claude was his and his alone. "Welcome back, my love." He whispered the words, for fear that speaking them too loudly would make this perfect moment vanish like some sort of magical illusion. But of course it wasn't. Claude was here, and he was real, and looking at Dimitri like he was the only person in the world. For all either of them cared right now, they could have been, and it wouldn't matter to them at all. "Glad to be here," he replied, and kissed him once again.